okay. It's a little hard for me to tell the story, for one, because I was there throughout the whole situation, because it happened in my home. So here we go. It was okay. It was like a Tuesday morning, I believe. A Tuesday morning. It was kind of foggy outside, like it was about to rain, and I needed my nails done because my nails were starting to come off. So me and my niece went to the nail shop. I got my nails done again, and we headed back home. We got back home. My niece had to leave to go to work, and I was there taking care of my mom. And at this time, I was starting to get her medication ready for her, to take her morning meds. As I was getting her medicine ready, she said she had to go to the restroom. So she was able to walk, but it's like her strength was starting to kind of disintegrate. So we had to put her in a chair, and we had to scoot her to the restroom and help her onto the toilet. So we did that. She went to use the restroom. We did the same process again to get her back to the bed. We got her in the bed. I turned back around to finish getting her medication together, and something told me to turn around and look at her. Now, mind you, she seemed fine that whole morning. Everything was okay. But when I looked at her, it looked as if her face was kind of starting to change. To me, it looked as if she was having a stroke. But, sorry, my nose itching. To me, she was having a stroke. So, I just started freaking out. I told my brother-in-law to call the ambulance, because something wasn't right. So, I kept telling him, and it was like he was moving too slow. So what I did, I decided to pick my phone up, me not realizing that my phone was sitting on the table right in front of me. I called the ambulance, and they stayed on the phone with me throughout the police and the ambulance getting to the house. So while I was on the phone with her, she was telling me to ask my mom to say different phrases, and she would say them, but it was still as if one side was weaker than the other. So I stayed on the phone with them, told them if anything changed. So to me, nothing had changed. The ambulance finally got there, and they did the same thing that I did. They had her say different phrases. She said them, then he asked me what side did I think the stroke was on. And I said, I believe it's the left side. And he said, yes, that makes sense, because her left side was weaker than her right side. So they took her vitals and everything, and they asked me could she walk, and I said she can, but she's having trouble walking. So what happened was, I don't know if you all ever heard of a Hoyer lift, but it's this pad that you put up under the person that they kind of lay down on, and it's like 4 different sides. You got 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom, and you use that to pick them up. Well, you use that to put on the machine for the machine to pick them up. But the ambulance workers didn't, the EMT workers didn't need the lift. They just picked her up with their hands and took her outside. But as they were taking her outside, it was like she's reaching for me, because she didn't want to go. And that was hard for me to see. That it made me cry even more, because it was like my own child kind of reaching out for me, and I can't go there to protect them. So as they are taking her outside, the ambulance worker kept saying, we're losing her, we're losing her. So they rushed to get her into the ambulance. They got her in, and they had to shock her. I think she said twice, but she was able to feel it, if that makes sense. I don't know how she felt it, but she was able to feel it. So at this moment, we're trying to figure out why the ambulance is still sitting there. like what's taking so long. And it took like 10 minutes for them to come out and talk to us. He came out, he said we had to put the tube in because she wasn't breathing right, and we had to shock her because we were losing her as, you know, as we were trying to get her into the ambulance. So of course that wasn't a good start to my day. My husband told me I couldn't drive because I was freaking out too much. So I rode with my niece to the ambulance. I mean, to the ambulance, to the hospital. We got to the hospital, and the nurse, not the nurse, the emergency room worker told me to go to the back. So I went to the back. I'm thinking, okay, I'm about to go in a room with my mom, you know, and sit with her until they come in and check her out and everything. No, they sent me to the waiting room for the family members to go when a loved one is very, very sick. So they sent me to like one of the waiting rooms by myself. So I'm in there. I'm still freaking out because, for one, I see my mom basically pass away. They told me they had to shock her. Then I basically followed them to the hospital. Then they put me in this room by myself. So it was like I really don't want to be here by myself. So eventually my two nieces came into the waiting room with me. And while they were there, my uncle, my auntie, my other brothers, sisters, they all came. So by this time I was okay. And the doctor finally came in and he was like, oh, she has renal failure, which is mainly kidney failure. So she has that, which is what caused like the her body to act the way it did. So with that, then they let us go into the room like one by one. No, two by two. Yeah, I think it was two people allowed each time. So it was that when I went back there, she had a tube in her going down her throat. Well, she was on the breathing machine. So she was on that, and they had her sedated. I took that very hard. I was crying, and I couldn't. I was able to stop crying, but then I stopped, then I start again. So it's kind of like back and forth, back and forth. So I wouldn't leave. I wouldn't leave. So I stayed in there, and other people would come in while I'm still back there. And so eventually I found the courage to go ahead and leave her, because I'm not used to being away from her, especially with her living with me. I'm not used to it. So I finally went on and left out the room. We went on and went home. They sent her up to the intensive care unit. Now, mind you, I had her phone the whole time she's there. I'm constantly calling to the hospital to check up on her, to see how she's doing and everything. And I finally went up to the hospital the next day to see her. She's still on the breathing machine. She now has a feeding tube and, you know, the catheter, like all that stuff in. So I walk in, I'm trying to be as strong as possible, but of course I start crying again. So I'm crying. I'm a crybaby, y'all. So I start crying again, and my sister and my dad is with me. And you know, my dad's like, be strong, be strong. She needs you to be strong. But it was like I was on the other side looking in, because I went through mainly the same thing, but she was there for me. So now she's going through it and I'm there for her. So it's like a switch of roles. You know, we switch roles, or whatever you want to say. We kind of switched roles. So it was hard for me, of course, and I was crying most of the time. And I was like, Mama, I'll see you later. I love you. And I kissed her and I went on and left. So the doctor called me and was like, well, she's kind of responding. She can hear you. She kind of she'll squeeze your hand and, you know, stuff like that. So I went back up there the next day. And I said, Mom, you want me to sing? And she squeezed my hand. And of course, I started crying again. I started crying again. So I was like, Mom, I can't sing. I can't sing right now. Like, I'm hurting. I can't do it. So I didn't sing that day. So, you know, we constantly going back. I went back like 2 days later. They took the feeding tube out. They took the breathing tube out. They said she could eat soft foods. So, you know, everything is going fine now. I mean, then she goes down to the 7th floor. And I guess her breathing was kind of laboring. So nurse sent her back up to ICU. She was doing perfectly fine. She was doing perfectly fine. She just had to explain to them that she was in pain. She was fine up there on the 7th floor, and they finally decided to let her come home. Now she's home. She can't walk or anything. I mean, like, she could talk, she could eat, she can she could talk, she could walk, she could eat, like, you know, she can take care of herself. So let me know if you guys would like a update on her health. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Also follow me on YouNow. My name is exactly the same, JustEureka 10, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.